Hello, this is Dr. Jianing Chen from BNU HKBU USC. Welcome back to my course of Studies of Contemporary Chinese Linguistics. This is Chapter 3, Phonology. Okay, here's the outline of this chapter. I'm going to introduce the concept of Standard Chinese, or 普通话, followed by a brief history of the Mandarin. Now I would introduce two terms, phonology and phonemics. Then I'm going to talk about the consonants, glides, vowels, diphthongs, syllables, homophones, tones, and sandys of Standard Chinese. Okay, let's continue. First, what is Standard Chinese? Standard Chinese is actually the main core concept or the study object of this course. It is usually defined as the modern Standard Mandarin or 普通话, a standard language that is the official language of China, including Taiwan, and also one of the 4 official languages of Singapore. We can define this concept in 3 aspects. First, from the pronunciation, its pronunciation is based on the Beijing dialect, excluded some very colloquial pronunciations. And second is vocabulary. Most of it are drawn from the main Mandarin dialects, excluded some local vocabulary. And finally, its grammar is based on literature in a modern written vernacular from some works of modern writers, for example, Mao Zedong, Lu Xun, Lao She, and so on and so forth. Okay, remember that concept. And then we will discuss the lingua franca, the so-called lingua franca, the common language in history of China, because they are the ancestors of Standard Chinese. You can look at the right part on this page. On this illustration, you can notice there's different stages of the historical evolution of Standard Chinese language. For example, it starts from llI, the elegant language. It is a term to refer to the common language that used by the rulers, including the king and the head of different states before the Qin dynasty. And during the Qing and Han dynasty, similar things are called common language, 通语. And later, it evolved into Hanyin, Zhengyin in the Middle Ages. And during the dynasty of Ming and Qing, it was called Guanhua, the Mandarin. That is the common term nowadays we still use. And later, during the Republic of China, such things are called national language, 国语. And after 1950s, a new standard was established called 普通话, commonly used language by the People's Republic of China. And by the way, the 国语 national language is still used nowadays in Taiwan region. Actually, they are not the same term, not the same thing in history, because usually lingua franca, or the common language, was based on the capital or political center of each dynasty. So you can imagine, before the Qin dynasty, llI must be some common religion used by the elegant people, especially by the Zhou kings, the king of Zhou, who are originated from the nowadays Shanxi province, and later Henan region. So we can say that before Yuan dynasty, Beijing was not capital of the central government, has never been. So using Beijing dialect as the basis of the lingua franca has only started since the Yuan dynasty and through Ming and Qing dynasty till today. Okay, we are going to focus more on the Old Mandarin and the direct ancestor of contemporary Putonghua, which was based on the pronunciation of Beijing dialect. There was a very important book I need to mention, which is published in 1324. His name is Rhymes of the Central Plain, 中原音韵. It is a rhyming book written by Zhou Deqing that could be used as the most important evidence to prove that it is very similar to the ancestor of a contemporary Putonghua. Its phonological system is completely different from the llI system. I mentioned llI last time in the first chapter, okay, which is a rhyming book written during the Middle Ages, who has 206 rhymes, including different tones, 4 tones actually, 平上去入. But 中原音韵 shares many basic phonological characteristics with the modern Mandarin, Putonghua. And also, 中原音韵 is a very important turning point in the phonological history of Chinese language. This is the reason I need to focus on it. Okay, here are some pages of pictures showing you the qieyun or guangyun. This is the first year of the guangyun. You can notice that we mentioned that last time actually, talking about how guangyun shows the old phonology of Chinese. And here is the first chapter of the volume 5 of guangyun. The characters in it are all the so-called 入声字, stop consonant ending of a final in Chinese syllable. Why did I need to mention that? Because there is no 入声字, no final stop consonant in 中原音韵. This is a very important difference, very important change if you compare 中原音韵 to 广韵. That means the phonological change from the Middle Chinese to Old Mandarin. Here, Middle Chinese, I use the 广韵 as the evidence, and Old Mandarin, I used 中原音韵 as the example. So 中原音韵 shows the reduction and disappearance of the final stop consonants, as I mentioned, and also it reorganized the tones, the whole structure, complete structure of the book in all. And also it simplified the rhyming system from 206 in total of 广韵 to only 19. That means it merged the difference among 平上 and 去. I'm talking about Yuan pronunciation. Phonological system of Yuan dynasty, contemporary Chinese. Okay, here is the current situation of the differentiation of tones in standard Chinese. We all know that. Okay, there are 4 classifications, 阴平, 阳平, 上声, 去声, or the tone 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and you can notice the value of the pitch, 5, 5, 3, 5, 2, 1, 4, and 5, 1. Okay, and the changes, which can be shown by the illustration here. An example is 分, 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 分. Okay, the syllable, the pronunciation of the syllables are the same, but the only difference, probably the only difference, is the pitch, the tone change, right? This is how we define Standard Chinese. A very important criteria is tone, toning system. Okay, if you compare the Standard Chinese with those following dialects, you may notice that most Southern dialects has more than 4 tones. For example, Suzhou, which is the example of a Wu dialect, has 7 tones. And Fuzhou and Xiamen, they are examples of, they are representations of Min dialect. They have also 7 tones. And Guangzhou, example of Cantonese, has even 9 tones. And the height, the value of the pitch of them are not the same. They have different features. Okay, this is one of the very important criteria to classify the different dialects of Chinese language. The tones, remember that. Okay, here's an example of the tones of Cantonese phonological system. Okay, as I mentioned, there are 9 tones in Cantonese, which are 阴平、阴赏、阴去、阳平、阳赏、阳去、阴入、中入、阳入. Okay, 平、赏、去、入 are classified further into 9 altogether. Okay, what about the value of the pitch of them? I will read the characters here to show their height. Fan, 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 fa, fa, fa. You can feel the difference of them, right? So this is the situation of the tones of contemporary Chinese, Standard Chinese, and some examples of dialects. Okay, go back to the core concept or the main topic of this chapter. We're going to talk about phonology, right? Remember? So similarly, there's another term emphasizes the relationship among different phonemes, which is called phonemics. So phonemics is similar to phonology, but it's different from phonetics. Okay, still remember last chapter we talked about phonetics. Phonetics mainly deal with the general information of all the pronunciation of human being language. But phonology or phonemics focus more on a particular language. Here in this context, we are discussing contemporary Chinese language. Okay, so the phonemics is a study of phoneme or distinct units of a sound in a language. There's a very important concept we need to mention. It is also the basis for further discussion. The minimal pair. What was it, a minimal pair? Minimal means the smallest. Pair, 2. Okay, minimal pair means a pair of words that are identical. The same, almost the same in pronunciation except for one sound. Almost the same, but there's only one sound different. Look at example of A group here on the left, which is a minimal pair. Mai and nai. There are 2 syllables there, right? Mai and nai. These 2 syllables are almost identical, but only one sound in front. In mai, okay, it began with nai begins with n. Okay, they are different, and they differentiate the meaning. They show 2 words, 2 different words. Okay, you can easily understand that if you speak Standard Chinese. Okay, so in Chinese, in Standard Chinese, they must be differentiated into 2 phonemes. That means by such evidence, we can differentiate from n. Okay, so they are minimal pair. While in example B, they are not a minimal pair, because you also have 2 syllables here, ma and min. Okay, but they are different, but they are not only different of one unit or one basic sound. Because in ma, is the same part and r is the different part. But in min, you have two different units, two different sounds here, which are e and n. Okay, they are different from r, but they are not only one sound. In this case, you cannot regard ma and min as a minimal pair. Minimal pair is very important if you want to differentiate all the phonemes in a phonological system. Okay, another very important standard to consider is the complementary distribution. If two or more phones are complementarily distributed and they are very similar and they do not distinguish different meaning in one language, in this case, in most cases, you can see that they can be regarded as belong to one phoneme, even though they are different phones. Okay, we distinguished phone and phoneme last time. Do you remember? Okay, to decide phonetic difference need not be represented by separate phonemes. Look at examples. Look at the first row first. Ta, wa, ya. Okay. Here shows the IPA description of them. They are all represented by the letter A, R. But actually, they are not the same. They are not exactly identical. Okay, if you consider this way. Okay, in order to pronounce wa, okay, because wa begin as as a back vowel, actually as an approximant, and if you need to put your tongue back. So after following the u, you must pronounce as a back vowel r, wa, wa, wa. While in the syllable ya, because it began with a approximant yi, and then following must be by a front r. So ya, you pronounce as ya, ya, wa, ya, ya. They use different r. They use front r and back r, respectively. Okay, but there's no difference according to Chinese understanding, Chinese speaker understanding, because that's only tiny difference. They do not differentiate different words. They are distributed complementarily. Okay? In particular situation appears A, and in another situation appears B, and A and B do not distinguish different meanings. This is called complementary distribution. Okay, and then Chinese speakers do not distinguish them at all, so they can be regarded as only one phoneme. Look at the second row, second line. We have similarly three examples: 这, 我, and 也. Okay, whereas 这 here, 我 is here, and 也. They use different core vowels in different three syllables, right? And they sound not very exactly the same, but they sound similar. Okay, one opinion shows that they can be regarded as a one phoneme. And there's a debate, obviously, because some Chinese speakers do not think o and are the same. They're actually not the same in the perspective of phonetics, and even in the perspective of phonemics, they are not the same. I'll show you the example here, because here is a chart, okay, showing all the syllables in Chinese, contemporary Chinese standard language. Look at the second and third line here. Okay, The second row here shows the syllables containing o. The third row shows the syllables containing e. Okay, in most cases they are distributed complementarily, but there are exceptions, which is a mo and mo, mo and mo. Okay, they are all syllables in Chinese language, and they represent different characters, different words. For example, look at this page. In bo, po, mo, fo as a parallel, that they are each line parallel with each other, or they are in a group. Okay, using or as the nuclear vowel, bo, po, mo, fo. It is typical. Okay, it is typical for what? For parallel to the match to the label sound, label consonant, right? Bo, po, mo, and fo, right? Dental, label dental, and but still have m, and only one character could be represented, could be used as the character for m, right? A mark of the question sentence, obviously. So you can give some example, read examples, or for example, 吃饭了吗? 吃饭了吗? You can only say 吃饭了吗, okay? It's an unstressed syllable, 吃饭了吗? Instead of 吃饭了么, no one says 吃饭了么, right? 吃饭了吗 is a natural way. So 吃饭了么 here. We have a more and we have more. They are not complementarily distributed. So in this case, some scholars believe that or they are not. They cannot be regarded as belong to the same phoneme. Anyway, let's talk about, I'm going to introduce here the syllable structure of Chinese, typical syllable structure of Chinese syllable, right? So a syllable usually can contain different parts. Initial. What is initial? In most cases, initial stands for the consonant appear in front of a syllable. Okay, what about medial? Medial sometimes can be called the glide, or the glide. Okay, the glide link the initial linked consonant and the vowel. There are usually 3 glides or medial in Chinese language. I will introduce it in detail later. And then we have main vowel, or you can say nuclear vowel or core vowel. They refer to the major part, the very central part of a syllable. Okay, there's almost no chance for you to form a syllable without main vowel. There are some exceptions. I will talk about it later. But in most cases, you need main vowel to form a syllable. And a coda. A coda can be a consonant or a vowel in different situations. And the medial, main vowel, and coda, they form the final. From the final. In Chinese, we call it 韵母, final. Initial 声母. Okay? And you still have a tone, 声调. So initial, final, tone, they are 3 parts in a typical syllable of Chinese language. And besides, we have another term of onset. Onset sometimes refers to the initial and the medial. Means the beginning part of a syllable. Okay, typically if there is a initial, the initial can refer to the onset can refer to the initial. Glide after the initial. They can be linked with each other and altogether regarded as onset. And rhyme is very important for Chinese literature, poetry. Okay, if you compose a poet, you need to understand a rhyme, even in old times. The rhyme refers to the main vowel and coda. That means you can ignore the medial if you compose a poet. And okay, that's the information here on this page. And before further discussion, I suggest you to recall the information that we have learned last chapter. You need to still remember the different part of the speech organ, the vocal tract of human being in order to further discussion. Okay, and also you need to remember this page, this chart of the consonants of IPA chart. Okay, we almost mentioned most cases of them last time. That means you can easily understand which symbol here refers to what and how to pronounce them. I hope you can understand that. But luckily, we will only mention some of them, especially those related to Standard Chinese. Yes, in this page. Okay, in this page you can find a very familiar consonant system to most of us if your Chinese language is your mother tongue. Okay, and consonants in Standard Chinese. Still remember in primary school in the first degree, we always start from study from the Hanyu Pinyin. Okay, before in our Yuan class, right? Before everything other thing, and okay, we always classify them into different groups, right? Still remember 波破摩佛德特讷勒兹斯斯知识诗日鸡西西格克呵 right? Okay, they're on this page, right? They're on this page. This is the phonological system of Standard Chinese. It is Standard Chinese or Putonghua and need to be used as lingua franca of Chinese people. So this is the very basic beginning content of the primary school. Okay, so if you compare this page to the last one, you will know that on this page, on this IPA page of consonants, we mentioned all the symbols because they are consonants for all language of human beings, but only a part of them can be used in Chinese. And similarly, only a part of them can be used in any other language. Okay, all the language put together form this whole chart, but any language only use some of them. So I hope you can locate or identify which is which. Okay, so in this 波破摩佛, it shows the Hanyu Pinyin writing and also shows the IPA transcription. So you need to understand them in a general way, okay, in a whole way. Because 波破摩 belongs to the bilabial, and 波破 belongs to the plosive or stop, and mo is a nasal sound, and so on and so forth. Okay, so they are very important. They are very important to understand the situation of Chinese consonants as a whole. Besides the basic consonants, we still have glide, as I mentioned. Okay, glide are all the glides I think are from according to the Chinese language perspective. They belong to the approximant. Okay, still remember what is approximant? Approximant means there are some hinder. Okay, happen to somewhere of your vocal tract, but they are not very strong. Okay, the channel you leave is comparatively not very narrow. Okay, in order to make a slight vibration when the airstream flow over, right? Approximant belongs to consonant, but they are very similar to vowels. Actually, you can find counterparts in vowels, all llI, right? And also you have the 3 llI as a approximant. Sometimes they appear in a non-onset syllable. Non-onset syllable. That means there's no initial, there's no consonant in front, and then this syllable begins with such glides or approximant. as shown in these three examples. Yan, wan, yuan. Yan, wan, yuan. Okay, yan, wan, yuan begin with llI. This three llI can be used as glides. So that means glides are the linking part, okay, between the initial, between the consonant and the core vowel, right? So in general, Standard Chinese has 19 consonants, as shown in this chart. Sometimes we use different terms to refer to different categorization. For example, stop here is used as the same as the plosive, and liquid here is used as the same as the lateral. But anyway, you can easily understand them, right? So I'm going to ask you to try to write down the Hanyu pinyin symbol of each one on this page. Try it. Okay. 波破莫佛兹兹斯德特呢勒支支时日格克呵 Okay, we have also a velar nasal used in contemporary Standard Chinese. It is never used as a consonant initial, but it can be used as a coda. Okay, here I will talk about the consonant glide combinations. That means different consonant can be followed by different glides. Okay, there are some principles, there are some rules of them. For example, on this page, the right illustration, right chart, you can notice that bo po mo fo, they can link with a final without glide. Okay, ba, pa, ma, fa. Okay, they are all acceptable. Okay, if there is a glide, I, U, or Yu, okay, there are rules that they can only be followed by the glide I. Bian, okay, change, bian, pian, mian, bian, pian, mian are acceptable. There's no fian, right? And also no buan, no buan, no such syllable here. They are blank, as shown, right? They're blank. There's no such syllable. That means bu, pu, and mo cannot be followed by u, yu, using as a glide. This is a principle you need to understand. If you are Standard Chinese native speaker, maybe you can use them naturally, but your mother tongue is not Standard Chinese, not Mandarin, okay? Even though you do not other foreign language, but you speak Southern Chinese dialects used as a mother tongue, there must be some effort that you need to take in order to understand everything here. You need to know the general principle in order to grasp it completely. Okay, and so the consonant glide combination made of consonant and glide occur before the nuclear or main vowel. Here's the definition of them. And a further chart shows the ge, ke, he, and zhi, chi, shi, ri. They can only link to u. Okay, into u used as a glide. That means zhi cannot, ge cannot be followed by i. Cannot gi, ki, he, no such syllable in Standard Chinese. There are such syllables in other dialects, especially Southern dialects, okay? But there's no such syllable in Standard Chinese. No gi, ki, he, no gu, ku, hu, ga, ka, ha, and gua, kwa, hua, okay? Or guan, quan, huan, they are all acceptable. This is the general rules that you need to understand. Okay, put it in a simple way. You can look at this page. Traditionally, Chinese scholars declassify the Chinese syllables according to their glides into 4 categories, including 开口呼, 起止呼, 合口呼, and 错口呼. the criteria to do such classification is the glides. A syllable with a glides of E, we call that 起齿呼, and with a U, we call that 合口呼, and with a Ü, we call that 缩口呼. Okay, so there are rules, there are general principles for different classification of such. Okay, here I'm going to introduce some special cases for the consonants used as a syllable directly. And standard Chinese has 3-syllable nasals, including and which occur mostly in interjections. For example, such character hung, okay, in reality, you always pronounce that not as hung, but okay, They're released from your nose, and then you put your tongue into different position. If you put your tongue, if you close your mouth only, okay, and then you release the airstream from your nose, you pronounce If you put the tip of your tongue to your alveoli, and then you pronounce Similarly, if you retract your tongue to your vela, and then you pronounce They do not distinguish different meaning. Okay, they are the same. Functionally, they are the same. Okay, they can all be represented by the character hung here, but they can be pronounced differently. And similarly, you have n never pronounced as en, okay, but they usually be pronounced as or okay, functionally they are the same, right? So they can be used as a syllable directly. That means only one consonant or one or two, a combination of nasal consonant can be used as a syllable. And another situation is the syllable consonants includes the z and r, z and r. Okay, look at these examples. Z, c, s. Z start from z and right, and following by z. Z itself is a voiced fricative, and c start from ts, aspirated one, and but followed by z, also s, z, s, s, s. Similarly, zh, ch, sh, r. The core vowel, the main vowel of such syllables are z or r. They are consonants.